being a blacksmith was really easy work. Is that true?
Was what real easy? Well, it's all in your perspective, you know. It does.
Hello friends, we are going to look at Maryland, the state of Maryland, and within Maryland a county called Carroll County. It's this way, the arrow is pointing. I'm kind of like trying to find it on the map, but there it is. It's part of Westminster, I believe. At least the address points it, but it's within Carroll County and it's called the Carroll County Farm Museum. That's it. It's a lot of buildings, I believe about 15 buildings, that in some way tell you about what it was like in the mid-19th century. Now we are on the way to the Farm Museum, and as always with JB's Man Cave, I ask you to please subscribe. It's free. Like and hit the notification bell so you can get notification whenever I create new videos. I upload and put out videos every day, sometimes several times a day, so there's always something to watch. In addition to which, I have almost, as of this video, 2,000 videos, so it's impossible for you to really watch everything. There's always something for you to see. Anyway, you can see the signs pointing to the Farm Museum. Opposite on the left, I believe, is a hospital. And on the right here is the entrance to the Farm Museum. It's a really nice place. Most of Westminster and Carroll County has a neat green appearance. It's a lot of farmland. And hence the Farm Museum, right? Farming is a big thing here. Now, on the day that we went, you can see in the background to the right there are school buses, and they were just getting ready to leave, thankfully for me, and only thankfully for me because I don't like picking up kids and stuff in my videos, just as I wouldn't want my kids being picked up by other people's videos and vice versa. So you can already see the look and the sign. A lot of green acreage, so here would be adequate for picnics. You can see there are picnic tables there, and each of these barns and buildings have some significance. Not now all of them were open at the time that we went. They had already done their day, as it were, and were closing up, but I was still able to catch a lot of it, including some goodly gentlemen and ladies that were willing to give me some information and tell us about what they did. You'll see all of that in this video. That's one of the things I like about the States. People are more open and willing to share what they do. I've had trouble elsewhere where you approach people and you ask them if you'll share a little bit and they get all shy and they don't want to be in front of the camera, but I find that's not so much true in the States. And here I'm going to say something so you can see my face. So folks, we are at the Carroll County Farm Museum and we're looking around. It's a historic place here in Westminster and we're going to just check it out. So that's just a reminder of why you are here and what you are seeing. And that's also for those of you who keep saying, oh, you need to show your face, you need to show your face. Really, the video is about the Farm Museum. Why do you want to see me and get a headache? Now this is one of the buildings, an interesting bell, and I'm sure there's lots of history here and lots of history inside, but I cannot go in at the moment because it's closed. However, you can always come and take a look whenever possible. Everything around here, as much as possible, is with the purpose of reenacting and giving you that likeness of what it might have been like back in the 19th century. You can see that rocking chair there. That actually looks pretty cool. It's very thick and big. I can just imagine sitting in that comfortably, which I didn't, but I just like the look of it. I also like this wooden entrance here. I guess would be used to You know, they didn't have elevators, so this was a way to carry stuff up to buildings. I mean, this place is very large. I could not cover everything, but what I did cover was very interesting. And you might think, oh, well, what's the big deal about farming? Well, there's a lot of farming. You would not be able to eat without farms. Now, some of you all are vegan, and I am vegan. And you may say, well, what about the focus on animals? There are no animals in my video, at least none where I'm recording that. However, it's part of history, right? That's a firehouse. You can see the fire hose there. In the old days, that would be opened and used to put out any fires. Obviously, right? So, yes, back in those days, animals were heavily used, and a lot of it was because they didn't have machinery to pull stuff to plow and whatnot, and animals were used in that way. And there's no change in history, and I'm just covering what was done in the past. You can see there are lots of places for children, places to play, places to relax, run about. And what's great about a place like this farm museum is the fact that while you're enjoying the scenery, the fresh air, and having fun, you can also learn something. I always like the learning aspect because it helps me to learn more about the world around me. You know, when you don't look out, you look too much inward and find yourself trapped. But looking at the ways and the types of things that people came up with in order to live, it's very interesting. It gives an appreciation for where mankind has come. And sometimes around here, you can see these boards that give you more information about the plants or the machinery. In fact, when we go into this big barn, there's a lot of equipment in here, and there are plaques and buttons for automated radio, or I shouldn't say radio, automated voice history that you can access. Some of you might be better able to tell us what we're looking at, but this is all the machinery back in the day. Steam engines. See, that's one of the things there where you could press, get information. You can learn how they milled a lot of food that, you know, we take for granted now, but that was a lengthy process back then. And if you notice, sometimes I notice in dark areas, stabilization doesn't work well. When you go back in the light, it works better. Those of you who are interested in history will find this quite fascinating. And this is a good place too for children to gain an appreciation, and teenagers, and maybe some young adults, that, you know, it wasn't always about phones. And everybody has their head down in their phone these days, and they don't know what real work is, you know, real physical labor. People had to spend most of their time gathering food, planting and whatnot in order to survive. You know, they didn't go in a grocery and supermarket and just have everything just on shelves waiting for them like there is now. You know, there had to be production, and you had to get up and go in a lot of places. And sometimes a lot of the farm communities, you know, people live on ranches and live in remote areas, so it isn't like they could just run down the road and get food. They had to plant their own stuff. Now, I don't know how many of you have been on wagons before, but those wagons, even though they're engineered well, they can be quite bumpy. Yeah, you just rattle, and you know, when you go on top of it, everything about you shakes. Now, a bit of history. Carroll County had a lot of Native American Indians, American nations that lived here. And of course, like most of America, as European colonizers came in, these nations dwindled. But here was largely occupied by many of the Aborigines who originally lived in the States and have been here for thousands of years. And as the Europeans came in, they went away, and mostly Dutch and Germans occupied Carroll County. Well, I should say Dutch and German speakers. The Germans were to the north, and you would get more English speakers to the south. In a dark period of Carroll County, they had the headquarters. I don't know if it's the headquarters or one of the main bases of the Ku Klux Klan. That's right. Right there in Westminster, they used to give out pamphlets and promote their ideology. That's one of the buttons you can press, and it will tell you about the history of what you're looking at, these wagons and stuff. And the last time those things happened was in the 1980s. Of course, I've already recorded much of Westminster's way different now. You don't see that sort of thing, and at least some of my knowledge, little knowledge I have about the area, there isn't anybody doing or carrying on those sort of things. Actually, people in this area are very respectful, well-mannered, and hospitable. I believe I caught a hummingbird there. I'm not sure, but I was very surprised to see the number of hummingbirds up here in the northeastern part of the states. That's right. You think that it's just in the Caribbean or whatever, but no, there's a lot of them here. Oh, look at that old tractor. Didn't have a batteries back then, so they had to turn and tumble start it. Actually, I wish they could do something like that now. I mean, how good it would be that your battery ran out and you could just pull out a lever or something and turn it and start that way. But of course, that would not be economical for people who want to sell batteries, right? So steps forward sometimes are also steps backward. Now in this part here, we're going to see some blacksmiths doing the job, and they were willing to be on camera.
Can I
Come on in, yeah.
can I record here or not?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Would you like to be in the camera or not?
Are you photogenic or not? I say, are you photogenic?
We tore our fire down for the day, so you
Yeah.
can record all you want, but probably not going to be cranking it back up.
So I heard being a blacksmith was really easy work. Is that true?
Was what real easy? Well, it's all in your perspective,
It doesn't take strength, I'll tell you that.
It's not.
Lots of skill.
Take
See
strength.
guys with big arms and everything, it's not necessarily true.
That's too full.
Takes skill.
It's
So-
skill. It's the knowledge of moving the metal.
Where to hit it, not how hard to hit it.
Yep.
So how did the American compare with European and Japanese metal wood?
We adopted a lot of the
Yeah.
European hardware, so that kind of anvil is called a English pattern or London pattern.
It says Sweden on it. Is that?
It says Sweden on it, very good. It is made in Sweden. It was made in Sweden 30 years ago. It is a cast steel anvil. It is uniform throughout. An anvil, this is a historic anvil that was made in Sheffield, England. It's called a mousehole anvil, and if you come to this side, you'll see the chalk marks.
I can come from that?
You could come, just come, don't come in.
Not
Oh,
come in.
okay.
So you can see the chalk marks. This is a piece, this is a piece, these are two pieces, and the top plate was a piece. So These were the wrought iron, and the top plate was the hard tool. So this is 5 separate pieces welded together.
Oh.
And again, that's a 150-some-year-old anvil. This is modern cast steel, so that's the difference. That's a difference. But yeah, this one was made 350 pounds. That's about 140 pounds.
This is
very anvil.
This one is modern, not so?
That's a modern vise, yeah.
Yeah.
That was in here because it's short. We have in the summer we have camps here where we let the kids twist up a hook. So we use the shorter one. This usually sits in our school up in the other building. But it's been sitting here for a year. Might be sitting here for another year.
But do you all actually create stuff here or just for show?
No, we make things.
Yeah, we were demonstrating for the school tours
Oh,
this
okay.
morning. So we were making hooks.
We made
and
leads
stuff.
and hooks today,
Oh, that's nice.
and
That's for decoration. Does it have a
this
purpose?
is for decoration. This is so they can put them on different hooks or gates or key fobs or anything like that.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
Yeah.
So, and then you make a spatula.
Axe heads, wrap die axe.
That's an axe head? Oh, you
It's
have
going
to
to be an axe head
Oh,
once
you
it
have to
gets
bring it
pushed
together.
together. Bring it
Right,
together,
right,
put the bit in it. This is a decorative set of grill tongs that I'm making. But this is called a rope twist. So it was a square bar, and then I grooved all 4 sides and made that twist.
Right.
That's why it looks like that.
Really nice stuff.
Yeah. Trying to show about 1880s, but you know, if you ask how it's different from England. I mean, England, I don't know to what extent the guild system was done here in America. And probably not as strict as, you know, the guild system in Europe, especially not, you know, older medieval Europe.
So much thanks to those 2 gentlemen for telling me about blacksmithing days in Maryland and working the metal. As they said, you know, it's not about how much strength you have, but where to hit the metal and the skill involved. So it's more a knowledge thing rather than a brute force thing. You know, there's a lot of pictures would depict blacksmiths as these big burly men who were strong and sweating and muscular, but as they said, it was all about how you can maneuver the metal and your knowledge about the metal. The heat and the pounding was all a matter of timing. So this is another barn, and these tools were used to, I guess, get the corn, cultivate, plow, and so forth. And then once you got the benefits of the ground, they would be processed in some way. Notice those seats never had any padding on it, huh? So you had to sit on those metal seats. At least I don't see any padding, or probably the padding would have long gone, but I can imagine on some days that seat would have been pretty cool because it's made out of metal. So we're continuing our tour. Now the guys in the blacksmith shop could have shown us more, but they were, like I said in the beginning of the video, they were closing down, so it was nice that they were willing to even entertain us. In fact, there were some people that were leaving and they still stopped to tell us a bit about the place, and that's, again, like I said, people here in Carroll County, they are very friendly, very willing, very proud of their heritage and willing to let everybody know about it. Well-mannered and courteous. Very unusual, at least for me, because I've been in other parts of Maryland, like in Baltimore and stuff, and sorry to say Baltimoreans, but you know, Carroll County beats you for hospitality, welcoming spirit. Baltimore is more like a gruff, serious, every man for himself kind of tone. So don't hate me if you're from Baltimore. That's just the feeling I got. Anyway, so we're continuing here on in the Carroll County Farm Museum. There's an incline here that takes us to some more barns. We're checking to see if any of them are open. And it appears like these are closed. I guess on another day you would be able to get a lot of coverage from, you know, when they have role plays and tours available. That's a lot of what they do here. A lot of enactments, reenactments I should say. So you can get the gist of what it was like in the mid 19th century. In fact, all of this reminds me a lot of England, because in England they have a lot of places like this where they keep the historic value of it and bring on people who are experts in history and also actors to reenact everything, so you feel like you were back there back in the day. There's some horses here, horses or ponies, not sure, but I just like the greenery, the yellow there. There's a pond. All of this is very nice. I don't know if it's allowed. I can't say, you'd have to check with them, but it seems like it would be a nice place to go jogging. I don't know if they allow that here. I mean, you can walk, yes, but jog, I don't know. But why I say it would be really nice is because, you know, there are different roads or paths, and it goes up and down, so, you know, it would be a challenge. And I say that because I like running. If you know JB's Man Cave, you know that I have some videos on running actually. And being over the hill, running is one of the important aspects of staying in shape, at least for me. So what about you? Have you ever been to Carroll County Farm Museum? What have you encountered? Just now I'm going to meet with some people who were involved in the role play just past a birdhouse there, and they're just going to say hi to show us the outfits. They had just gotten done with doing some reenactments for the children in the school buses that we saw leaving when we first came. Let's listen.
Yeah, he does recording all over the world.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, don't photograph the stuff behind us. We've got the modern stuff. No,
Oh,
that modern.
I thought you meant the vehicles
no,
behind
no,
you.
just our coolers and stuff.
Oh, okay, well, you're in, that's it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What's this place here?
These are barns, and they're called bank barns because they go back into the bank, so you can use the upper floor and the lower floor. And if you go to the barn next to this, if you follow the path, that barn was built in 1790, so it's well over 200 years old.
They also gave me some interesting information about what the whole place was for way back when. And one of them mentioned quote-unquote social security. In other words, this was a place that was used to help people get on their feet, re-establish themselves in society and so forth, by providing a means where they could get food and medication and whatnot. And they had that in place way back when already. It's not like the system now where everybody just gets a check and they run and do whatever. You know, the people were taught the skills that they needed to survive. And I asked a question. I said, you know, well, what happened to all those people once this place was basically closed down, and that it wasn't used for that purpose anymore. And they said, well, you know, people just return to the streets or wherever, try to make do with what they have, and that's how it was. Now in here, they're not, you know, they're talking about the animals, but not actually using animals. That's actually the way it should be for me. I mean, you could demonstrate something without having to actually cage up animals. This is where they were kept, and it's really nice that they were able to fully restore something like this. Again, being a vegan, I'm not interested in saying these things were good, but this was part of history, and therefore it should show what was done back in those days. And so animals were kept in these barns under probably stringent conditions in small spaces, and were reared to either work or act like food for people. And the same thing goes on today, even though it's not necessary. I mean, as a global population, we are more than able to create and make food without having to even touch an animal. But that's another topic, right? The area is just beautiful, as you can see, very scenic. This is always, as I say in every video where I record, a green. Green speaks to the mind. It's very healthy for your soul, your wellment, and that's scientific, huh? That's not just JB telling you that's how it is. No, if you go and research, you'll see a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists talk about how good it is to go out there into nature and experience life and have a fresh breath of air and so forth. And some of these chairs they have in memory of, and whatever name associated with it, probably somebody who played a significant part of history, or maybe donated to the upkeep of here. In fact, this part of the farm museum, I was glad that we were able to enter it, because it had a lot of stuff from history that you would see in, you know, black and white pictures, but to see it in front of you was a whole other occasion. You know, seeing it right there in front of you, getting a feel for what it might have been like. And at first we thought it was locked, but it was actually open. So these are the, you know, the back in the day cars, vehicles, better known as wagons. And there are all kinds of wagons here. Ones for just transporting people, others that acted like wheelchairs, others that were for transporting goods, some were steam powered, and others were pulled by horses. I think that's called a buggy. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm not an expert. Anybody can chime in the comments area and fill me in. That's how the post was delivered. Wagon like that. And of course there's always these little plaques on boards that give you more information, and you know, we had time against us like it usually is, and so I kind of had to run around here a bit. Didn't have time to stand and read, but this was all like eye candy for me. I don't know about you, but I just love this kind of stuff, seeing what it's like in history. And I can only imagine if my children were here, which I wish they were, they could see how things were back in the past. And you know, when a state or county, municipal, whatever, gets involved and preserving their history like this, it says a lot about the area and the governance in it. Huh? And why I say that is because um, I've gone to other places where there's so much that could be done and so much history that is being lost. And really nobody takes an interest in doing it. They just do not invest in it. So it's really good to see when, you know, an investment is made in preserving the past so people can be aware of what happened, where they came from. So hats off to whomever is in charge of the Carroll County Farm Museum and for doing all of this. And of course, as you can see, we only covered just a few buildings and a few buildings that happen to be open. So you mean you could spend all day here and probably would not be able to cover it all, especially during what they call, I believe, a live history, where they have the role plays and stuff. So probably you'd have to come again and again and again to cover it all. I'm not sure, but I think they also have Civil War reenactments out here too. On their website, they have a website, you can Google it and you'll be able to find what are the current events. There's always events going on here, especially during the summer period, July and August. So it's free as well. That's an important part to point out, and what makes it great is that you can just come. There's no charge to enter. At least I didn't have to pay anything to come in here. And you could just take in all that is around you. Now this is a little treat. I like this. This was a small little wooden structure that is actually a schoolhouse. You could see how small they are, and I'm going to just show you what it's like inside and end the video right here. Look at that. Just imagine if that was your school. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it.